Hello and welcome to the Bowling University studio from the International Bowling Campus in Arlington, Texas. This is the Profit Break. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes and you'll be well on your way to improving yourself and your profitability. We all know that good data is key to running a successful business. On today's show, we're going to review an underutilized yet easy to obtain crucial set of numbers that are essential to running a successful food and beverage operation. I'm talking about sales mix, which by itself tells a story, but when you combine it with your cost and menu item profit data, you have a powerful set of numbers that you can use to fine-tune your operation. Combining the two is just one step away from becoming a menu engineer. So let's talk a little bit about what the sales mix is and why it's important to have with your operation. It's all about knowing your numbers, okay? Let numbers be your guide. You don't want to go by gut. Okay, so sales mix report, really, why do we do that? What it is, it's a snapshot of your menu item sales at a menu item level. Okay, you're going to see individual sales and you're going to see it relative to the entire menu. And what it tells you is what's selling and what's not selling. Okay, it's as simple as that. What are my guests like? What don't they like? Okay, so within that, it's relative to the entire menu, but then it's broken down even further, and you're going to say within a category. For example, you should have a category of sandwiches, or maybe you have it broken down even further, but let's just go with sandwiches for right now. Appetizers would be another one. Drinks would be another one, because you want to look at how they are relative to other items within their category. Okay, for example, here's a sales mix report that was generated recently by a local FEC, and you can see they have theirs broken down by category. They have their burgers in total from the grill. It's going to be, and you need to look at it in two different ways. You see on the left column is sales quantity. That's how many did I sell. And then on the right, it's the net sales. So how much did I sell it for? It's a big distinction. Okay, the other thing they put on here, which is great, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but just look, this one's not sorted, so sometimes you have to export it to an Excel file and then sort it in a way that would make it easier for you to understand it. But you look in this case, in their quantity sales, their slider is the #1 seller. Okay, closely followed by the classic burger and cowboy burger and so on. And so they can, a snapshot, and see, at least for that week, what's selling. Over on the right, where it's talking about net sales, how much money did I generate from there? The interesting thing here is you notice down at the bottom, they have the extras, which is great. You want to have that programmed into your POS system, any extras that you're going to have, be they for an added cost or no cost. In this case, it's no cost. So you see the sales quantity, they had one of the extra salad dressings, 3 of the extra burgers. So that impacts the sales quantity ranking because that percentage, those are included in there. Really important thing is shifted over to the net sales, and you can see where those are zeroed out. So within that category, 35% of my revenue came from the spare time slider. Okay. This is a 1-week snapshot. As you grow it into a month and a quarter, it really tells a great story of what's selling, because within a given week, things are going to change. Okay. One thing I noticed on here, though, is what you want to be able to do. You see down at the bottom where it's 1.03%. That's relative to the entire menu. So what this center obviously has is they've got some other non-food and beverage items that are within this report. You want to try to keep it as clean as you can so that this would reflect what that category is. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 30%, maybe it is, if it is one. In this case, I know it's not. So keep that report as clean as you can, and it'll tell you a lot. Okay. Now, where it really gets interesting is the sales mix report is something you can generate and you look at it. That will grow into other reports. Okay. When you combine it with your costs, so your menu item costs and your menu item profit margins for each of those items, that's really going to bring it into focus on how your menu is performing. Because simply some items are more profitable than others. Okay, so if you sell more of those, you're going to make more money. Probably also has a higher cost of goods too. Okay, so when you look at it this way and you combine it all, it kind of puts it in perspective for you. It's also going to provide you your potential cost of goods. So you're looking at your menu, you're looking at what you sold, you have your POS is set up just right. You know what your cost for that entire operation should be. based upon those sales. Okay, you know it for the whole menu, and you know it by categories. They're really important distinctions. Then you're going to take that and compare it to what your inventory is telling you that your costs are. So if you're doing an inventory, the periods have to match. So in this example, if it's a 1 week sales mix report they were taking, and by the way, sales mix sometimes is called a P mix or a product mix. It goes by different names, the same thing. And so compare it to that inventory as long as it's the same period. And if your inventory is telling you X% and your sales are telling you, within 1 or 2%, then you're doing okay. If it's more than that, there's got to be a reason why. What's going on? Okay, so that's when you want to dig in and start to investigate and make any corrections, be they accounting corrections, or maybe there's stuff walking out the back door. Maybe they're not doing the portioning correctly. There could be a whole bunch of things. So this gives you a snapshot of where, if you're on target. Okay? Now, speaking of targets, make sure that how do you know if you're where you should be or where you want to be? Okay, you should have targets for each of your item areas. Okay, for example, when you're talking about beverages, the target cost of goods on beverages is going to be much lower than it is going to be for snacks, or it's going to be for sandwiches. So you need to have a target and goals for each of those categories. Here's some samples that are on the screen, generally speaking, where things fall. And then in my example here, I want my overall cost of goods target to be 32%. And that's based on what I think I'm selling, what the profitability is of those items. And I know when I do that, and then I combine that with other data, I know that I'm on target. Okay, so you got to know where you're going and to know if you're on the right track. So make sure you have targets and goals set up. Then the question you have to ask is in this business, we're usually pretty driven to cost of goods. Okay, and typically we'll think the lower the better. Right, because it's all about cost. So, or is it? Cost is important, but if you ask this question, would I rather my operation run at a 32 or 38% cost, you probably get a couple different answers. Some people will say 32. Nobody's going to jump right out and say 38. The other answer you probably get is, well, it depends. If you say it depends, then you're on the right track, because that's where sales mix combined with your menu item cost and profitability data comes in. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, this is a real simple menu, and it's right off of the sales mix report we had. This is what it gave us, and I have these 3 items. Okay, and there's my cost. So I've got soft drink, I've got a chicken wings, and I've got a burger. And my cost is what you see there, 28 cents for that soft drink, and so on. The price is what I'm charging for it, and let's just assume this is a great. It's not reality, but that's what I'm getting every time, $1.79. So when I get that, that's what my cost of goods would be, 15.6%. Do the same thing for chicken wings, same thing for hamburgers. So I know what my cost is, I know what I'm selling it for, I know what my cost of goods is. What is my goal? Where should I be? Well, you don't really know unless you know how much of what you're selling. In this example, we sold 200 soft drinks. Okay, and then you see 60 chicken wings and 54. Then we simply just extend it out to get total sales and total cost. When we do that, we had $337 in cost and $1,052 in sales. Do the math, and I have 32.1%. So you know what? If my goal was 32, I'm right on target. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay, but let's look at that if we switch it up a little bit. And let's just say we don't sell as many soft drinks. We're selling a lot of the higher cost items. We're selling a lot more chicken wings and we're selling more burgers. So we still have sold 314 items. That didn't change. The items didn't change. The cost didn't change and the price didn't change. So the only thing that changed compared to the first center was the number of each item. Extend it, do the math. You can see we had $28 in cost for soft drinks, $179 in sales. Do all 3, add them up, $600 in total cost versus $1,592 in sales. 38%. It's a lot higher than 32%. Okay, but you don't stop there because there's more to the story, and then you want to look at the gross margin. So this is where when you're combining your cost and your profitability in with that sales report, it makes a big difference. So the first center, yes, it was 32%. Second one was 38%, but look at that gross margin. Okay, I made $715 at that lower cost, and I made almost $1,000 with the exact same menu at the higher cost items. So don't jump to that conclusion that lower cost is better. Now, if this 38% doesn't fit into your goals, okay, if it doesn't fit into your goals, then you have to go back and you have to look at your menu. You have to look at what you're selling, what you're not selling, and see where you can make tweaks. Okay? Maybe that's the right thing for you. Maybe you should be running at a higher cost. I don't know. You don't know unless you get in there, you look at the data, and you know who your market is. That's how you make those adjustments and tweak it. If you want to get closer to 32, okay, then you make your adjustments and such. So don't be afraid if you're running a little bit higher cost, as long as you know why you're running a higher cost, and as long as you're bringing that money down to the bottom line and take it to the bank. So details matter when you're trying to run something like this. Okay, you have to make sure that your data is accurate. If it's not accurate, you're wasting your time. Okay, so first thing is your POS system has to be accurate. It's got to have all of the menu items on it. It's got to have all the modifiers. You saw in the example we used that they had some extra things that were at no charge, but sometimes you're going to have a charge, like added bacon, added cheese, whatever it be. You have to account for all of that. That should all be in your POS. Make sure your pricing's up to date. When you change prices, you need to change the price in your POS system, okay? Standard recipes. You should all have standard recipes. It's a basic building block of the food and beverage business. Your costs have to be up to date. Costs have been going crazy lately. You have to watch that frequently. Make sure you update your standard recipes, and then make sure that your staff is following the portion control guidelines that you have set. That's part of the reason of doing the standard recipe. Then you train your staff. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. It's as simple as that. Follow up so that when you come in and your costs are off and your profitability is off, you go back, you have a system in place that you can manage. Remember, you manage systems. You've got to have those systems in place. You're going to lead your team. Make sense? It's really not that difficult. It is simple. The only thing hard about it is just the time it takes to get it done. Okay? So keep in mind this, so to wrap it up, okay, sales mix drives the total cost of goods. That cost depends on what you sell, and it also is going to drive your profitability. Simple as that. So cost of goods is important, but remember, you don't take percentages to the bank. You hear that all the time. It's all about the profit is what you're really looking at. So start looking at your menu in that perspective, okay? So hopefully that makes sense to you. If you'd like to learn more about how to make your food and beverage operation more profitable, make sure to check out the food and beverage courses available in the online training by going to bowlinguniversity.net/on-demand, or you can reach us anytime at education@bpaa.com. As we wrap up another edition of the Profit Break, remember that when your focus is on growing people, people will grow your business. This episode, as well as all our previous Profit Break episodes, are available 24/7 for you and your team at bowlinguniversity.net. Plus, new episodes are available every month, so mark your calendar, watch your email, and join us on Facebook to hear about the latest episode. Until then, I'm John Karabatsis, and do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Until next time, we'll see you. So long.